Hello, and welcome to Inventors Helping Inventors. I'm your host, Alan Beckley, inventor of the Wonder Wallet. If you're an inventor searching for proven ways to make money with your invention, if you dream to see your product selling in stores everywhere, you've come to the right place. There's no better place to get help than from experts, inventors who've already achieved success. Every week, I interview successful inventors, asking them the questions you want to know. Tune in to learn from the experts so you can get your invention out of the tank and into the bank. Sometimes your biggest enemy, especially as a new inventor, is your friends and colleagues who are going to pour cold water on your dreams and say, too risky, don't go there. Don't want to see something bad happen to you. And unfortunately, you listen to them instead of listening to yourself. What's the most difficult part of inventing? It's not the creative process of inventing a new product. It's not even navigating the patent process. The most difficult part is marketing your product so you can make money from it. If you're like most inventors, you love inventing and creating, but you hate marketing. Maybe you'd prefer to turn the marketing of your product over to an agency that claims to have helped hundreds of inventors. Unfortunately, that's expensive and always ends badly. Here's the good news. Marketing is a learnable skill, and I can teach you, empower you to market your own invention through a proven, effective process. Sound intriguing? If you're a serious inventor who's ready to learn how to license your invention to get it to market sooner rather than later, my product to market training could be right for you. Through 7 hours of one-on-one in-depth training, I will show you how to create a clear, concise, compelling marketing message for your product. I'll show you how to use a new AI agent to find 30 or more companies in just minutes that could be great partners to license your product. Then we'll use another AI agent that looks at your top 10 companies and then finds names, titles, email addresses, and LinkedIn profiles of up to 100 contacts. Armed with all this, I'll work with you to design a step-by-step process for you to use to reach out to companies and contacts with your clear, compelling message. Then you're ready to begin contacting the companies yourself. I'm planning to work with no more than 2 inventors through the product to market training. If this sounds like something you'd like to explore to finally get your product off the sidelines and into the market, let's talk and see if this program is a fit for you. Just email me at alan@alanbeckley.com and put in the subject line, Product to Market. I'll reach out to you and schedule a time for us to talk. Again, just email me at alan@alanbeckley.com. Put Product to Market in the subject line. I look forward to talking to you. Welcome to episode number 600. Today I don't interview anyone because it's another Me on the Mic episode. So what is your Me on the Mic episode about today? It's an admonition for you, a strong piece of advice. So here it is. Don't let them sink your dreams. So let me illustrate this by sharing a story with you of my early days as an inventor. I was working in telecom, and I had a lot of colleagues that I talked to on a regular basis. And way back when, I came up with an idea for a thin, flexible wallet because I hated sitting on what I called the thick, bulky rump bump wallet. So I did like most of you. I came up with a simple prototype. I tested it out. It seemed to work. And then I realized, wow, millions of men in particular would love this product because it can hold a lot of cards without being thick and it's flexible. And guess what? like every new inventor, I knew everyone would want my product, and I became very excited about it. So what happens when you're excited? Well, usually you share it with your colleagues at work, perhaps, and your friends, right? Now, fortunately for me, I did not share any intellectual property, but I shared the concept with my friends at work. And the conversation may have gone something like this. Hey, Alan, what's going on? Oh, you know what? I've come up with an idea for a new invention. And they might say, oh, what's that? And I say, well, you know how most wallets are thick and bulky? And they said, yeah. And I said, I've come up with a thin, flexible wallet. It's more comfortable, fits easy in the back pocket, and I'm really excited about it. And they said, oh, well, that's great. And then they said, so what stores is it in? And I said, well, it's not in any stores yet. It takes a long time to get in stores, and that's never guaranteed. I could see this look on their face. And I said, but I'm in the process of applying for a patent. And they said, oh, well, that's great. That'll protect it, right? And I said, yeah. And they said, so what does that cost? Like $100? And I said, oh, no, back then, a patent, about $5,000. And they said, wow, that's a lot of money. At least it's guaranteed, right? And I said, well, no, there's no guarantee that I will get a patent. And I can see their thought process. Going to spend a lot of money for something that's not guaranteed. He's got a product, it's not in stores. And the person paused for a minute and they said, I knew somebody about 3 years ago, and they had an invention idea, and they spent tens of thousands of dollars pursuing it. And it just never worked out. So be careful. This is a simple example of others sinking your dreams, because I could have considered what they said. Oh, wow, there was somebody who spent tens of thousands of dollars, never made any money, lost a bunch of money, and they never got into the marketplace. But if I did that, I would be putting more weight on the uninformed opinions of others than my own careful thinking as an inventor. That's part one of don't let them sink your dreams. Sometimes your biggest enemy, especially as a new inventor, is your friends and colleagues who are going to pour cold water on your dreams and say, too risky, don't go there. Don't want to see something bad happen to you. And unfortunately, you listen to them instead of listening to yourself. Now let's go to part two of another form of them that can sink your dreams. So to do this, I want to delve just a little bit into neuroscience. And full disclosure, I am not any kind of expert on neuroscience, but I know a little bit about the portions of the brain and how they work. So let's talk briefly about three portions of the brain: the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, the decision-making part of the brain, the amygdala, part of the limbic system, sometimes called the lizard brain, and the hypothalamus. Let's take a look at how these work together in your brain. So there's a portion of the brain called the amygdala, little small almond-shaped portion of the brain. The amygdala is very connected to the fight or flight symptom. And this, for example, goes back to, you might even think of the caveman days. In fact, the amygdala is part of the limbic system, or lizard brain. It's the oldest part of the brain. And quite honestly, it was designed to keep us alive. Were it not for that lizard brain, that older part of our brain, we wouldn't be here talking today. But back in the day, fight or flight saved us from a lot of deaths. Because you can imagine if you were in the caveman days and you were venturing out, and suddenly you see this big gray, sort of tiger-looking thing with long teeth. Well, if you didn't respond quickly and say, oh, that looks bad, I've got to get out of here. Let me see if I can get up this tree before that thing does. Well, that's your amygdala kicking in. And what does the amygdala do? It creates a fear response. And then that fear response immediately goes to the hypothalamus, which creates adrenaline that makes you move very rapidly, and cortisol, which is a stress aspect. here's the thing I want to stress. Your thinking part of the brain is called the prefrontal cortex. That's your decision-making, your problem-solving, your calm thinking part of the brain. Guess which of these two works fastest? Well, you might have guessed the limbic system, the amygdala, hypothalamus, the fight or flight. When a sense of danger is perceived, you must respond immediately. You can't calmly think, wow, that thing looks big. I wonder if it's dangerous. Oh, you're dead. So that issues of true danger. And nowadays, there's not very many of those. If you're out in the woods and you see a bear, especially grizzly bear, and he's coming towards you, well, that amygdala, hypothalamus, that part of your brain, the fight or flight, could save your life because you're going to try to climb the tree, hopefully faster than that big bear can. But if you're in the office, guess what? It's still running all the time. Your colleague says to you, oh, by the way, I just talked to the boss. He just mentioned to me, he said, if I could ask you to drop by the office, he needs to talk to you about something. And all of a sudden, you don't know what that's about. But if your amygdala, your fight or flight, fear emotions kicks in, you're thinking, uh-oh, he's going to talk to me about something. Wow, I heard there were layoffs coming. Oh, what if that's what it is? And suddenly what happens? You start sweating, perspiring, your heartbeat increases, and you start feeling stress before you even go in there to see what the heck it was. Just like before, guess what part of your brain is working much more quickly? Your limbic brain, your amygdala, hypothalamus is creating fear and all the rest of it. Then you go to the office to meet with your boss and he says, hey, great job on that project last month. I just wanted to compliment you for that. And by the way, I can't spread this around quite yet, but I'm definitely considering you for a promotion. Wow, that's not what you expected at all, right? The other point that I wanted to make is now that you understand that fight or flight, the fear symptom, and the way that whole portion of the brain works faster than your prefrontal cortex, then using that calm part of your brain to reason and think things through will serve you well. And very often, your amygdala and that limbic system is going to put you in fear, unreasonably so. So where am I going with all this? I said this is part 2 when I said don't let them sink your dreams. Well, the other part of that them is actually you. You may go home from that colleague at work or friend that said, wow, I knew of an inventor. He lost tens of thousands of dollars. And suddenly you feel fear kicking in. And you think, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe they know what they're talking about. So in that case, the them that is thinking your dreams isn't really them, it's you. So I know I'm jumped around a little bit with this, but I wanted to tell it in the form of a story. And to wrap this up, I strongly encourage you is don't let them sink your dreams. And by that, when you've got a new idea, don't share any IP with anybody. And it's probably better not to share much about it anyways to people who know nothing about inventing, because whatever advice they give you is probably going to be negative and tell you not to do it. Secondarily, when you feel an initial fear from yourself, you think, oh, this could be a lot of money. Oh, this may not work. How many other things have I done that may not work? Take a few minutes, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, calm down a little bit, and give that prefrontal cortex a few minutes to kick in and think about your product and the demand, why it could be successful. Anyways, I'd like to wrap up now saying, don't let them sink your dreams. Stay on target. Don't listen too much to others and think things through carefully. Thanks as always for listening, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Thanks so much for tuning in to Inventors Helping Inventors. If you like the show, please tell your friends about it. Make sure to subscribe in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts so you won't miss a single episode. Talk to you soon.